The key didn't work. Donald Marsh stood in the hallway of Pinewood Apartments, 3rd floor, apartment 14, and tried the key again. Same result. The lock turned slightly, then stopped, like something inside had changed, like something inside had been changed. He was 76 years old, standing in a fluorescent-lit hallway at 7 p.m. with a bag of groceries in one hand and a key that no longer fit the door his son lived behind, the door he had been paying for every single month for 11 years. He knocked. Footsteps inside. A pause, the kind of pause that means someone looked through the peephole and made a decision. Then his daughter-in-law Karen's voice, tight and careful. "Donald, this isn't a good time. My key isn't working," he said. Another pause. Longer. "We had the locks changed," she said. "I meant to call you." Donald stood there holding his groceries. Behind that door was his son Greg, his grandchildren, 11 years of monthly payments that had never once been late. Behind that door was a family that had just decided he needed a different kind of key to enter, the kind they hadn't given him. "Is Greg home?" Donald asked. "He's busy right now." Donald looked at the door for a long moment, then looked down at the groceries, milk, bread, the cereal his grandson Tyler liked, things he'd picked up because he was coming anyway, so why not? He set the bag down in front of the door. "I brought some things for the kids," he said quietly. No answer. He walked back to the elevator alone, and somewhere between the 3rd floor and the lobby, Donald Marsh understood that the lock on that door was the least of what had just been closed to him. It had started in 2013. Greg had just lost his job. The warehouse had downsized. 40 people let go in a single afternoon. He had Karen, 2 kids under 5, and a lease coming up for renewal on an apartment they could no longer afford. Donald hadn't hesitated. He was 65 then, just retired from 38 years at the post office, living on his pension in the small house in Cincinnati where Greg had grown up. He had savings, not a fortune but enough. He'd spent a lifetime being careful with money because being careful was the only way a postman raised a family without drowning. "I'll cover the rent," he told Greg, "until you get back on your feet." Greg had looked at him with something Donald had mistaken for gratitude. "Dad, I can't let you. You're not letting me. I'm choosing to." Greg got back on his feet within 8 months. New job, decent salary, better than before eventually. The rent payments should have stopped then. Greg never brought it up. Donald never stopped sending them. It became simply the way things were. Donald paid. Greg's family lived. Nobody discussed it. In 11 years, Donald had paid out roughly $94,000. He hadn't counted. He'd never once sat down and added it up because counting it felt like keeping score, and keeping score felt like the wrong kind of love. But the number was there if you did the math. $94,000. And now he was standing in an elevator going down to a parking lot, without a key, without an explanation, holding nothing. He sat in his car for 20 minutes before he trusted himself to drive. Donald's sister Carol had said it 3 years ago. They'd been sitting on his back porch in Cincinnati summer evening, the kind of warm night that made everything feel more honest than usual. Donald had mentioned the rent, offhand, not complaining, and Carol had set down her iced tea and looked at him the way she'd been looking at him since they were children, like she could see straight through to the back of his head. "Does Greg ever ask how you're doing?" she'd said. Donald had thought about it. Sure. When? He'd thought longer. Christmas. Birthdays. Donald. Just his name. The way she said it when she didn't want to say the rest. "He's busy, Carol. He's got kids, a job. You're paying his rent. That's my choice." "I know it's your choice," she said carefully. "I'm asking whether he knows what that choice costs you." Donald hadn't answered, because the honest answer was, he didn't know whether Greg knew. He'd never told him. Never mentioned the savings account getting lighter every year. Never mentioned cutting back on his own heat in winter. Never mentioned the roof repair he'd put off 2 years running because the money went to Cincinnati first and Pinewood Apartments second. He hadn't wanted Greg to feel guilty. Looking back now, sitting in his parked car outside the apartment building, Donald thought about that conversation with Carol, about what she'd seen that he hadn't let himself see. key. He picked up his phone and called her. She answered on the second ring. He changed the locks, Donald said. Carol was quiet for just a moment. Then, I'll be there in 4 hours. Greg called at 9 p.m. Donald was sitting in a diner 2 blocks from the apartment. Carol was still driving for hours from Columbus, eating soup he didn't taste and trying to decide what kind of man he wanted to be in the next conversation. He answered, "Dad." Greg's voice was tight, rehearsed. "Karen told me what happened. I'm sorry about the key. We should have called you first. Why did you change it?" A pause. Karen felt like we wanted more privacy. The kids are older now and, Greg, it wasn't personal. Greg, quieter. Why did you change the lock? Silence. Real this time. The rehearsed version had run out. "Things have been tight," Greg said finally. "Karen and I have been stressed and she felt like you coming by unannounced. I called every time." "I know. I brought groceries. I left them outside the door." "I know, Dad. I saw them." A long pause. "I'm sorry." Donald looked out the diner window at the dark street. A couple walked past, laughing at something. An ordinary Thursday night for everyone except him. "I've been paying your rent for 11 years, Greg," he said, not as an accusation, just as a fact that needed to finally be in the room between them. "I never once asked for anything in return. I never asked for a key or special treatment or gratitude. I need you to understand what it felt like to stand at that door tonight." Greg didn't speak for a long moment. When he did, his voice was different, smaller. "I didn't think about it from your side." "I know," Donald said. "That's what hurt the most." She arrived at 11:30 p.m. Donald was still in the diner. The waitress had stopped asking if he needed anything else and had simply kept his coffee full, which he appreciated more than he could say. Carol walked in wearing her driving jacket, spotted him immediately, slid into the booth across from him, and said nothing for a full minute. Just looked at him the way she always had. "How are you?" she finally said. "Tired," he said honestly. "Are you going to keep paying the rent?" Donald looked at his coffee. He'd been turning that question over for 4 hours. "I don't know," he said. "That's a more honest answer than I expected. I keep thinking about the kids," he said. "Tyler and Sophie. None of this is their fault. If I stop paying and they have to move." "Donald." Carol leaned forward. "Greg is 51 years old. He has a job. He can pay his own rent." "I know. You have been carrying this family for 11 years and they changed your key." "I know, Carol. So what are you going to do?" Donald wrapped both hands around his coffee mug. Outside, a car passed slowly, its headlights sweeping across the window. "I'm going to stop paying," he said. "And I'm going to tell Greg myself. Not as punishment, just it has to stop. I can't keep giving to people who don't see me." Carol nodded slowly. "Mom would be proud of you," she said quietly. Donald looked at his sister across a diner table at midnight and felt something shift. Not heal, not yet, but shift. The particular relief of a decision made after too long carrying the weight of an unmade one. "Let's get you a room," Carol said. "You're not driving tonight." Donald stopped the payments on the first of the following month. He called Greg 3 days before, gave him notice, not an argument, told him simply that the arrangement was ending, that he had 30 days, and that he hoped Greg understood this wasn't about anger. Greg was quiet for a long time on that call, then said, "I'll figure it out, Dad." "I know you will," Donald said. "You always could." He meant that. That was the hardest part. He'd never doubted Greg's capability. He just loved him too much to let him use it. In March, Donald finally fixed the roof. In April, he drove to Columbus, not to Pinewood Apartments, but to Greg's new place, a smaller apartment across town that Greg and Karen had found themselves. Greg had left a voicemail 2 weeks earlier asking if Donald would come for dinner. Donald had waited a week before calling back. Not out of cruelty, just because some things needed a little time to mean what they were supposed to mean. Dinner was quiet. Karen was careful. The kids were loud and wonderful and completely unaware of everything that had happened, which was exactly right. After dinner, Greg walked Donald to his car. They stood in the parking lot in the cold April air and Greg said, "I've been thinking about what you said, about standing at that door." Donald waited. "I'm sorry, Dad, not just for the lock, for all of it." Donald looked at his son, 51 years old, still had the same eyes he'd had at 7, when Donald had taught him to ride a bike in the driveway of the Cincinnati house. "I know," Donald said. He drove home on the highway with the windows cracked and the radio low. The roof was fixed. The savings account was healing, and somewhere in Columbus his son was finally learning the weight of what he'd been given all those years. Some lessons cost nothing. Some cost 11 years and a changed lock and a long drive home in the dark. But the ones that finally land, they change everything.